Hi, I'm Tim of Watchbox, and Brian, I'd like to thank you for trusting my company, myself, and Armand. Congratulations on your new FP Journe Octa Sport Titanium. I'm going to walk you through some of its features. You probably know quite a bit of this already, but I think sometimes it's fun just to take a guided tour with folks who feel the same way you do about watches. And of course, the Octa Sports launched in 2012 in aluminum, but today they are made out of titanium externally and aluminum internally. So the watch that you see right here, 42 millimeters, though if you measure it, it's a little bit more like 42.5 in titanium. 10.9 millimeters thick, extraordinarily slim for a watch this complicated. They are about 49 millimeters from end profile to end profile. They're not quite lugs. And then you have a wonderful integration of the strap in the case that's almost seamless, and as you can see, it's actually slightly countersunk. The strap is a handsome piece and nicely tapered to match the flow and expansion of the lug profiles. There's a lovely matte grain to the strap and a character line that runs down the center. You can see the Line Sport logo. On the underside, you can see a repeating FP Journe logo, and it actually creates a little bit of a hollow and lifts the strap off the wrist so the skin can breathe a bit better. Now you will have the privilege of cutting and sizing this one. As you can see, we fit our watches with new straps, and I'm not sure if Armand has fit this one for you or if you prefer to cut to suit, but you can see you will have many pre-scored demarcations to make this easy to do. Now the clasp itself is a double deployant, and you actually have spring-loaded pin snaps internally, so this one stays resolutely closed when it is shut down. You'll also appreciate that FP Journe used rubber bumpers externally to prevent scratching and scuffing. I actually like this treatment, and I appreciate that because I've owned many scratched and scuffed sports watches. Also note that there is a cradle form to the clasp itself. Internally, it curves to match the underside of your wrist. Now, rolling back to the case, you can see there is a matte finish, and outboard there are rubber bumpers, plenty of them in fact, to prevent the scratching and scuffing of the watch. Of course, the timepiece with a domed profile bezel, something that's common to most FP Journe timepieces, visually uniting some of the dress timepieces with the sport model right here. Now the dial is loomed, and you can see that you have those Journe biomorphic style hands, black polished at center and fully loomed over a sapphire capped constant seconds subdial. You will note the characteristic Journe bolt fixed dial side bezel. This was something that was considered controversial when the first Journe watches launched in the late 90s. Today, I don't want to say it's been universally copied, but it has been extensively copied. Journe has always been a trendsetter. You've got your AM/PM indicator or your night-day indicator. You've got your red on white double-digit date, and of course a power reserve indicator. While the watch is rated to 120 hours, FP Journe has clarified to me that that is the chronometric power reserve, and in fact the absolute drop dead is a little bit closer to 7 days. Now turn the watch entirely over, and well, this is where things become fun for me. As you can see, the movement is derived from the standard caliber 1300. This is based on the caliber 1300-3, which is a more efficient version than the original. A unidirectional winding, because unidirectional is more efficient. You can see that it uses a combination of aluminum bridges and plates. This is very uncommon, and it's both difficult to achieve and difficult to finish cleanly, but FP Journe manages both, everything constructed in-house. You'll note there's a bit more of a techno-industrial aesthetic to this movement, and it features a lovely spline-style set of screw caps on the aluminum rotor, which is a combination of satination and Cote de Genève circular. You'll appreciate that each of those simulated bolt caps does feature a wonderful black polish on its top. So between the bolts, the rotor, and of course the interior portion of the assembly, you have Cote de Genève black polish and satination. Now there are circular Cote de Genève on the bridges and plates, engine turn perlage on the base plate, but note two different sizes. There is a large perlage overlapping on some components, and then if you look right under the balance, there is a micro perlage very tightly overlapped. This is difficult to achieve. You'll note that the balance beats away at 21,600 vibrations per hour, but it has a very large moment of inertia, and it has a free-sprung architecture, so adjusted in a chronometer style multiple positions. In fact, you can see on the movement that it is adjusted in a chronometer style 5 positions. The free-sprung architecture makes the movement. We'll flip our unidirectional winding mess. I wanted to show you the rotor, but it keeps hiding. But with the free-sprung architecture, you hold that 5-position adjustment in the face of bumps and concussions on the wrist, and having this much lightweight unsprung mass helps to reinforce the shock resistance. It's not a dive watch, but you can swim in it. It's surface swimmable. It's a versatile piece. It's impressive in every regard, and yes, there is a quick set for the date. This is a timepiece that delivers just about everything you could want, including future collectability, as these represent a relatively small proportion of Journe's already small, roughly 900 watch per year output. A true thoroughbred watch from what I mentioned was an up-and-coming and rising brand, a future classic from a brand that I believe will be revered more than ever as we further recognize just how much ingenuity in terms of aesthetics and engineering FP Journe has brought to the space. I'm not part of the cult personality, but I can admit the man knows his watches, and he's an enthusiast like you and me and Armand. Thanks so much for trusting our company. Time out, Tim out, and thanks for logging on. And I am back with the FP Journe Octa Sport by night Plenilume. And note, the numerals themselves are solid blocks of luminova placed onto the dial.